Hello and welcome to the programme where you can directly take part and help to cut the crime rate. Now, you may need pencil and paper. This is the number here in the studio that you can ring at any time, but there'll be others on the screen and other information that you may want to keep. Now, these are all police officers here. They're all investigating crimes that we'll be featuring tonight, and they'll be waiting for your call. Everything you see tonight will be for real.
We'll be reconstructing events in explicit detail, and maybe you'll recognise something you'd never connected with a crime and find that you hold the key to solving it. We had an overwhelming response to our first programme, so we'll start with a progress report. This is part of our reconstruction of events surrounding the murder of 16-year-old Colette Aram in Keyworth in Nottinghamshire.
Over 500 viewers called in, producing 57 entirely new clues and a definite new sighting of Colette's killer a few hours before she was strangled. Detective Superintendent Bob Davey, in charge of the case, sums it up like this. Morale on the team has certainly been boosted. A trail which was in danger of going cold has now been thoroughly revived.
And that's thanks to you. And on Britain's biggest ever stamp theft, a viewer who saw our reconstruction believes that he actually saw the theft in this street in the City of London. His description of 3 men removing the stamps from the back of this blue van is now the best lead that the City Police have. So we'll keep you posted, to coin a phrase.
And Devon and Cornwall Police have had a great success with their Aladdin's Cave of Unclaimed Treasure. In fact, 23 pieces turned out to come from a single burglary, and it wasn't in the West Country at all, but in Essex. And all these items have been identified and claimed. As a result, 2 people are helping police with their inquiries into a large number of burglaries as far apart as Southwark, Colchester and Camberley. So thank you. Now, tonight, the police need your help to solve the murder of Caroline Osborne. As always, this is the number to ring if you can help. We'll be showing this and local numbers throughout the programme.
At the time of her death, Caroline was 33 and running a successful small business near Leicester. It's now almost exactly a year since she was killed, but still the police don't know certain crucial details of her life or about what happened. What follows now is a reconstruction based on the evidence there is of Caroline's last hours. At 6 o'clock on the evening of Friday, July the 29th last year, Caroline Osborne had finished work and returned home to 107 Danvers Road off the Narborough Road in Leicester. There you go, Tammy. You're on there. Caroline ran a small business, clipping and grooming dogs. She had over 700 customers, so she was quite a well-known figure in the area, collecting and delivering her clients' pets.
Don't worry, Tammy. We'll go for a walk soon, yeah? Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
People who knew her say she was a quiet person, and there was really only one subject she loved to talk about, and that was dogs. Caroline loved all animals. She'd had the holiday of a lifetime in November in 1982. These snaps were taken on safari in Kenya with her friend. Caroline enjoyed the country so much that she decided she wanted to live there. So, shortly after returning home, she advertised her house and business for sale. And then, without telling anyone, took herself to a local aero club and started a course of flying lessons. She felt that Kenya was a place where she'd need to be able to fly. It was about 6:30 when a neighbour saw Caroline setting off from the back of the shop to exercise 2 dogs. An eyewitness reports seeing her minutes later taking the path towards Aylstone Meadows, her usual route for walking her black Labrador and her neighbour's white dog, Tammy. And here was the last definite sighting of Caroline Osborne. Aylstone Meadows is a strange mixture of public park, river and canal, and industrial buildings. It's a popular area for local children to play on, and there's a busy section of the Grand Union Canal with its locks and towpath. This footbridge was part of her usual walk. But there are some aspects of Caroline's life and business which still puzzle the police. For example, her van was a white Ford Escort. But more than 80 different witnesses recall seeing Caroline using a blue van to collect and deliver dogs at customers' houses and to take dogs for walks at a nearby park. The van didn't belong to Caroline, the precise make is not known, and neither the van nor its owner have ever been traced. Another few minutes' walk, and Caroline would have passed St Mary's Mills Lock. She was a private sort of person. There were some men in her life who even her closest friends didn't know. Some the police haven't yet traced. In March 1983, one of Caroline's customers collecting her dog from the shop saw someone else there. He seemed quite at home and remarked on the fact that they were all wearing blue clothes. The man's trainers and tracksuit trousers and his T-shirt were all dark blue. He wore a silver bracelet and digital watch and a silver medallion. So far, the police haven't been able to trace him. There was one other man seen with Caroline. A neighbour saw a man coming out of the back door of the shop and helping her with the dogs. He too has never been traced. Since he clearly knew Caroline, the police are anxious to identify him. At this point, Caroline could have taken one of two routes, but a later possible sighting seems to suggest she took this path towards the gas holder. Beyond this corner and from the other side of the canal, another witness caught a glimpse of someone, possibly Caroline, with a man running after her. That sighting was at 6:50 p.m, and if that was her, it was the last time she was seen alive. By 7:10, the black Labrador was seen heading home. The neighbours became concerned when they noticed the dog exhausted back at the shop without Caroline. One of them went to look for her on the meadows, but by 10:30 that evening, when there was still no sign of her, he telephoned the police. The following morning, the police search resumed, and it was then that the fate of Caroline Osborne was discovered. All night, the neighbour's white dog had been guarding her body. Caroline had been stabbed to death. Well, Detective Superintendent Alan Stagg is heading the investigation. It's a very large area to cover this, isn't it? Have you accounted for all the people on that day in Aylestone Meadows?
No, unfortunately we haven't. We have got 500 people sighted down there that day, but we've still got 25 unidentified men alone that we haven't been able to trace.
So you need them to come forward?
Yes, we do. It is a very popular place at that time of the year, but we've still been unable to trace them.
Anyone who saw anybody that day. What about those two men we saw?
Yes, the first one, the olive-skinned man with the medallion, he was seen in the shop in March by the witness, but more important, he was seen in the Huntsman Public House on the Narborough Road in Leicester on the following Sunday. And obviously, he appeared to be local, so he's not come forward, and we're anxious to trace him.
And what about the other man?
Well, the other man was seen there in May and June time, 2 or 3 occasions by a neighbour, and we think he may well have been a boyfriend of Caroline's, so obviously we need him to come forward as well.
Now, could that blue van have belonged to one of the two men, do you think?
Could have done. Totally bemusing. You know, we've got over 80 sightings of that blue van being used by Caroline Osborne, and yet we just don't know why she was using it.
Well, surely somebody must know something about that.
You'd have thought so. You know, I would have expected somebody who's lent to the van to come forward and see us, and yet they haven't. And I appeal tonight, of course, for the public to, if they do know anything about anybody lending her a blue van, then to contact us.
And finally, she had been married, hadn't she? Has her ex-husband, Gary Osborne, been able to help you?
Yes, we've had long chats with Gary, because obviously he's a singer. He has been with the Raymond Vale Orchestra in the past, but in the 1970s he was with the Ivor Kenny Sound in Leicester, and a lot of people would have known Caroline through Gary. So I asked the public, of course, that if they do know Gary and have seen him with Caroline, then of course to contact us.
Right, and as we saw there, Caroline looked rather different there. So the number to ring in confidence, if there's any way you think you can help, is here on 811 8055, or at the incident room at Wigston in Leicester on 0533, that's the code for Leicester, 813 121, or on Leicester 813 122. That's Leicester 813 121 or 813 122.
The next crime happened in a crowded public place and in broad daylight. There were thousands of potential witnesses, and maybe you were one of them. It's a crime that involved a great deal of planning, and possibly the culprit was wearing some disguise. This is Sydenham Road in Guildford city centre, right by Holy Trinity Churchyard. They've been doing building work here for the past 2 months, but you might remember one day in particular.
It's Derby Day at Epsom, and the crowds are already massing on the course.
It was a memorable day for quite another reason in this part of Surrey. At about 10:30 that morning, a workman noticed a young man, particularly smartly dressed it seemed, and with a woman's push-bike, which he left by the churchyard railings. Guildford High Street is just 100 yards away, and several of the shops had just started their summer sales. It was close to Sainsbury's that a couple of shoppers next spotted the smartly dressed man. They couldn't have suspected that they were looking at a gunman. One young couple remember him joining them on a bench. The woman noticed his smooth appearance and dark, curly hair. She thought it looked too perfect and wondered if it was a wig. It's now 2:45. In less than an hour, he'll reveal himself as a potential killer. At 20 to 4, this van parked outside Sainsbury's store, and a guard got out to pick up the day's takings. The Securicorps guard had held on to the money. A shopper tried to have a go, and the robber panicked. The shots he fired went into the ceiling, and now he raced away along a route he'd mapped out quite precisely. Up into Holy Trinity Churchyard and along through the old cemetery. And that's where he picked up the bike he'd so carefully positioned earlier by the building site. He got on it by the Sydenham Road multi-storey car park and pedalled fast downhill towards Guildford Castle. A gardener saw him race past and thought he might knock someone down on the narrow path. But the gunman had chosen this pedestrian route so that a police chase would be nigh on impossible. At the end of Castle Hill footpath, the bike was abandoned, and where he went next is guesswork. He probably ended up at Castle Arch by Guildford Museum, and he could have had an accomplice waiting for him there in a car. If he went left, he may have headed out to Shalford or Horsham. Or, alternatively, he may have got into a car just below at Millbrook Car Park. Either way, at this point, the Guildford Derby Day gunman disappeared. Detective Chief Inspector Tim Blake is the man hunting him. You're obviously looking for witnesses in the Millbrook Car Park area and in the Quarry Street area, but there are some tangible clues as well.
There are.
Now, what do we know about the bike, for example?
The bike we know is 16 years old. It was made specifically for the mail-order market and co-op stores. It's a Royal Albert make with 3-speed gear and the basket, as you can see.
And it's a sort of maroon colour. Now, somebody either sold this, it's a woman's bike with this sort of... this, of course, could have been added later, the basket, or it was stolen. Now, did it come from the Guildford area?
Well, we've had vast publicity in the Guildford area We have received a negative response on that. So it could have been brought down in the boot of a car or in a van, and we are interested in anyone who saw a man in Guildford taking a bike like this from the boot of a car in contacting us.
On Derby Day, June the 6th, and the man looks like what?
He's 25 to 30 years of age, 5'10" to 6 foot, slim, fit, tanned and very smart appearance.
Right. Now, that description is crucial because almost a month to the day before the attack at Sainsbury's, there was a very similar raid at a store nearby, Debenhams in Guildford. And it might have been the same man. In fact, this time he was caught by the security camera. And here he is at the moment of the robbery. He pointed a pistol at a security guard and he escaped with £13,000 worth in cash. This is his photo fit, and like the Sainsbury's raider, he's white, about 5'10", slim, and in his late 20s or early 30s. But is it the same man? Now, Crimewatch UK has been working on an entirely new technique for comparing and enhancing photo fits. Now, this is a standard police issue photo fit kit. It's actually, and you've probably seen these things before, it's a sort of jigsaw with over 500 pieces that slot in here. Eyes, chins, noses, ears, all that sort of thing. Now, that can be put together to produce 5 million different faces. Here at Crimewatch UK, we've been trying to improve on this with the aid of a new piece of computer technology called an electronic paint box. With the help of an actual witness and under the supervision of an officer acquainted with both the Guildford cases, let's see how with the paint box that photo fit image can be improved. The first thing is to erase those jigsaw lines that break up the photo fit face. The cross on the screen, incidentally, corresponds to the position of this electronic pen on a sort of magic pad.
Right, are you happy with the shape of that face and style of the face now?
Yes, it's very good.
Now, also in your statement, you made reference to the fact that this chap had a all-over even, nice even suntan. Would you like to just try some sort of colour for a tan, please?
It's a bit light, really. Can you make it any darker?
Right, how was that for a suntan then, Elizabeth?
I think it's about right, really.
Right. And the glasses themselves, are you happy with the shape of them?
Yes, they were quite tinted.
So they were darker than what was seen on there?
Yes. I think they're about right.
Slightly darker.
Perhaps a bit darker. A bit more like sunglasses. That's better.
Looking at the picture there, how would you, what colour would you make his hair now then?
Sort of browny coloured. And darker than that.
What about the curls themselves? What were they like?
They're really spaced out. They looked really uniform, as though they'd been permed or
What, far apart or close together?
sort of about half an inch between each curl, really.
Quite uniform sort of curls. Huh?
Yes, very even all over his head.
What else do you remember about them?
He had about one grey hair in each curl. That's better colour. And then if you just put, if that's right, just a few bits of grey in it.
You're quite satisfied that's a fairly good resemblance to the person you
Yes.
saw in Guildford?
Yes, definitely looks like him.
In fact, that's the best impression the police have had so far of the Sainsbury's gunman. Now, let's apply this same technique to the robbery suspect at Debenhams. Now, as an experiment, let's see what happens when we compare them both. Take now the hair from the Guildford Sainsbury's suspect, put it on the Debenhams one. You remember some witnesses thought it might have been a wig, and one witness said the Debenhams man was wearing sunglasses. And as a final touch, let's take off his moustache. Chief Inspector Blake, people's recollections of faces, of course, can be highly unreliable. How much of a help is this paint box technique?
I agree with you, they can be mistaken, particularly when they've only had a fleeting glimpse of the offender. But certainly this paint box gives an added weapon to the armoury of an investigating officer.
This man, next time, maybe could kill somebody. If anybody thinks they know him but details don't fit, presumably you still want them to call you?
Oh, yes, we do. He could kill.
Right, thank you. If you think that you can help in any way, and as I say, please remember that he, maybe they, use loaded guns, please don't let anyone be killed. This is the number here, 01811 8055. Or you can ring Guildford direct, that's 0483 311 11. Guildford 31111.
Well, now to the Crimewatch UK incident desk, where we invite the police to appeal to you directly for your help in solving a variety of crimes. Here are Chief Inspector David Hatcher and WDC Helen Phelps.
We start this month with an appeal to motorists who travelled through Shropshire during March and might unwittingly have given a lift to a murderer. It was on March the 21st that Hilda Murrell, an international expert on roses, was stabbed and left to die a few miles from the house in Shrewsbury where she lived alone. It may be that when she came home from shopping she disturbed a burglar. At any rate, she was taken on a bizarre ride in her own car through the surrounding countryside. Witnesses say they saw a man driving erratically with Miss Murrell slumped in the front seat. The car, a white Renault 5, was found in a ditch 6 miles away at Huntington, and in a field about 500 yards away was Miss Murrell's body. This knife is believed to have been used in the attack. Miss Murrell was 79. As well as needing more information from local people, we're widening our appeal to motorists passing through the area who could have dropped Miss Murrell's killer on the A5 near her home before the murder, or given him a lift away from the scene, perhaps along the A49 north towards Cheshire, on the Newport Road, westward along the A5 towards Wales, or even east towards Telford and the M6. If you remember giving anyone a lift in Shropshire on that day, please call us in confidence here at Crimewatch UK.
Now the London rapist. Actually, the police are looking for 2 men. The first was active in Kensington, and the Met Police, armed with a psychological profile composed by the FBI, have started a new house-to-house inquiry in the Redcliffe Gardens area. It might be that someone who has moved away since the first attack in 1979 has some useful information. If that's you, please call the incident room. The Kensington rapist has also boasted of 2 unreported attacks. There may even be more. So if you have been a victim and stayed silent for whatever reason, do think now about calling us. There are women here who can take your call if you prefer, and it is in confidence. In the second series of rapes in Notting Hill, this paper knife was stolen. When it was recovered, the ivory end of the knife handle had been replaced with a piece of blue plastic, and it had been splashed with house paint. If this triggers off any memories, please call us. Wherever you live, the fundamental warning is security. If you live alone, check that your doors and windows are secure. If you see someone acting suspiciously in the gardens around blocks of flats, call the police. And one last point. When you are in the evenings, remember to draw your curtains.
And now we turn our attention to a rather curious armed robbery in Liverpool. It's curious not for the fact that 2 armed men escaped with about £2,000 in cash, but rather that they were caught in the act by a security camera. The raid took place at the Kensington branch of Barclays Bank in Liverpool on Monday the 9th of April this year. It was 3:25, only a few minutes before the bank was due to close, when 2 men entered. One of them pulled a stocking over his face and produced a pistol. The other, meanwhile, collected nearly £2,000 in cash, which he put into a white plastic bag. Unfortunately for them, in their rush to escape, they dropped the bag and the money spilt onto the floor. If we examine one of the stills more closely, we get a fairly good picture of one of the robbers. And if you recognise him, the £5,000 reward could be yours. Perhaps you were in the Liverpool-Kensington area on that day and saw the 2 men with the white plastic bag running out of the bank. We're anxious to trace these 2 men because next time, using a gun just like this, they might kill someone.
And if you can help on any of these cases, do call us here at the incident desk on Crimewatch UK.
And the number to ring, 01811 8055. Now, in the last few hours, the police have asked us on Crimewatch UK to make an urgent appeal on a case which you're bound to have seen in the news this week. It concerns the man who's come to be known as the Fox. He is armed and has raped women in the Bedfordshire area. A massive police hunt for him is underway, and the man in charge of investigations at the incident room is Brian Prickett in Dunstable. Why are you now making such an urgent appeal?
Well, from being a normal burglar, his motive has changed to that of a sexual attacker. He's become savage. His daring has increased considerably, and on Tuesday this week, in the early hours of the morning at Leighton Buzzard in Bedfordshire, he entered the house of a married couple and by using a shotgun, forced the woman to tie her husband up and then committed a very savage rape on her. And our fear is that if this man is not caught, he will commit the ultimate offence and kill someone.
Because his character's changing so rapidly?
His character is changing, and there are changes in the type of he's committing, and his savagery is increasing tremendously.
So what do you need to know from viewers?
Well, he enters the property and always has had a balaclava on, and as can be seen in the reconstruction photograph shown, so the description is therefore very difficult. However, we believe he's in his 20s, he's white, he's about 5'8", he may be fair-haired, and we believe that he speaks with a soft northern accent. It may well be that his behaviour during the day is quite normal. He probably goes out at night, and in fact the people with whom he lives might not know that. But, but I think someone probably will, and I would ask them to contact us in confidence.
Right, and in confidence, the number again, of course, to ring is 01811 8055. And in fact, Bedfordshire Police are investigating another case that hit the headlines. You might remember back in March, the burglary at Woburn Abbey. Thieves made off with an heirloom collection of fine silver, one of the finest in the world, about £5 million worth. How did they do it? Well, like all the most ingenious schemes, it was actually very simple. So simple, it should serve as a warning. To the security guard patrolling the house that night, everything seemed in order as usual. Little did he know there were intruders in the darkness outside. A car had silently entered the grounds through a back gate. Undetected by the camera, the burglars made straight for the stonemason's workshop where the ladders were kept. They picked one of just the right length. They'd obviously done their homework. It was 19 minutes past midnight when they disconnected the infrared light attached to the camera. The guard saw his monitor screen darken and noted a malfunction in his duty log. The robbers lay low for a while to make quite sure the guards had not reported anything suspicious to the police. In fact, it was 3 hours before they attempted their next move, which was accomplished quite simply with a cheap can of spray paint. In the control room, the effect was exactly the same as a camera breaking down. A final burst of paint put paid to the floodlight. The rest was easy. And 4 months on, there's no news whatsoever of what happens to the treasures. Detective Chief Superintendent Brian Prickett is once again the man in charge of this case. What actually did they get away with?
They took a family collection of silver and silver gilt that included the very unique Paul de Lamery bread baskets, candlesticks, and the Lancia silver, which is also well known.
That's a unique piece, isn't it?
Very unique indeed.
In particular, there's the Russell family crest on most of these pieces, isn't there?
That is right, yes. The vast majority have got the crest on, and it also has a goat as part of the crest, and also has the words K Sarah Sarah, or if not, the letter B.
So are people likely to come across this in an antique shop or something?
I think they are. Our information is that the majority of the stuff is still awaiting sale, but a number of items have been sold and could well be in second-hand shops or even antique shops.
Now, there's one major clue in this case, and that's this pickaxe handle. What does this tell you?
That's right. The pickaxe handle is alien to the scene, and it has an initial T on it, and also one other initial in front of it, which is not particularly clear. And we'd like to find the ownership of that, and would ask people if they recognise it, contact us.
So somebody might recognise that. And, of course, there's that reward of £100,000, which could be an incentive.
I think it could, yes. I think it would be an incentive both to members of the public generally and to the criminal world.
Brian Prickett, thank you very much indeed. And the numbers to ring, as always, you can call us here in the studio, 01811 8055, or you can call the police in Dunstable on 0582 603 141. That's 0582 603 141.
Finally, a truly ferocious crime. The victims were a group of people in a Merseyside pub. They'd simply gone to their local for a drink. In the reconstruction that follows, we show no explicit scenes of violence, but I must warn you that the language is pretty vivid and the action is necessarily highly realistic. It's a violent story of a violent night. It was the end of a Sunday evening in the Old Stanley pub in the Old Swan area of Liverpool.
Come on now, gents. Come on, drink up, will you? Come on then, that's enough. Come on.
As is the custom in this part of Merseyside, 2 officers on the beat did their usual round of the local pubs at closing time.
Okay, love?
Oh, fine, no trouble, thanks, lads. No trouble at all.
Maybe
Okay.
2,
They checked there were no problems in the pub and they made their way towards the door. Ironically, right at their feet was a brown sports bag whose contents, had they known them, would have brought half the police in the district to the pub.
He said, I'd never fall out with you.
Now, you finish with that.
All right, Peggy, we're going now, love.
Oh, it's all right. You can hang on a bit if you like, look, because there's a couple of lads out there and I don't like the look of them. We've got enough lagers there to last them all night long.
Peggy, they're going now, love. You're all right.
Oh, thank God for that.
The time is now 11:30, and the last few regulars in the Old Stanley began to finish off their drinks.
On the floor! Get on that floor now! For real! Get out! Stop it up! Not one move! Right, now give us your Tom, your jewellery! Come on, get it on! Go on, you divvy! Don't! All right, that's it! Shut it, mate! Right. All right, what's doing you? Don't try it here, though! Come on! Fill the bag! Come on! Go on, you friggin' divvies! Give it to him! Come on, I want to fill this up! Messes about! All right, mate! Not enough. I'm telling you, it's not enough! Well, what do you mean to do about it?
During the commotion, one of the customers made a dash for it, and one of the men seems to have let slip the other's name.
Hey, Tony, get that bastard!
Just at that very moment, a police car stopped right outside the pub. But the police were simply checking a passing motorist. They were preoccupied, and they didn't hear the fearful noises coming from the pub.
All right, we'll call the law. I'll call the law. Just one time, now blow your brains out. And theirs. You friggin' bullet! Shit! That's not good enough for him. What is that? No! Shut up! Shut up! You think his name's Tony, don't you? It's not, is it, Bill?
No, that's right, Alan.
We're having your own with me, Fred. I'm not happy. I'm not happy. Who's the manager?
I am.
Where's the safe?
It's not in here.
Don't cheat me. Where's the safe?
It's outside.
Come on.
Don't frig us about.
Shut up! Right. Keep them covered. Anybody moves, blow their brains out. Come on, you.
Those who were there will never forget the 2 hours that followed.
Smaller guy, he was like a psycho. I mean, there's no two ways about it. At the end, the day's going to come and he'll definitely kill someone. Because he's got no value for human life whatsoever.
It was like mental rape what he'd done to us. It really was. He's destroyed me. Totally. I'll never forget it. Never.
You. Is that a necklace you got there, eh? And you? All of you. Roll your collars down. Come on, you. Stay where you are. Don't try it. Just don't even think of it. Showed you. You thought I was stick, didn't you, eh? You cunning bunch of bastards! Don't try anything like that again. Just don't try it. What'd you get?
800 notes. I wanted there's an old video upstairs, so I kicked it in.
Why?
Because it felt like it.
Get out, you silly old bitch!
What did you get?
Nothing much.
Don't piss me about. What did you get?
None!
Come on, tell me.
All your bunch of necklaces.
Well, there's another one.
Great.
800 quid's not enough.
There's some in the till.
Right.
Hey, go and get some champagne while you're there. We'll have a party.
Oh, yeah, get some Bacardi, eh? Julie likes Bacardi. We'll have a party.
Julie likes that, doesn't she?
That's right. And don't think I'll finish with you lot.
In fact, the ordeal went on for over 2 hours that night. Now, all the men, quite defenceless in front of the guns, were kicked and beaten, and after one of them suffered a fractured skull, one of the gunmen poured cordial into the wound. In all, £3,000 worth of jewellery and £1,400 in cash was taken. 2 of the women there have since suffered nervous breakdowns. Detective Chief Inspector John Corrin is determined to get the men responsible. He needs your help. What help do you want from the public?
Well, as we saw from the film, that was a particularly vicious and sadistic crime carried out in a family public house on a Sunday evening in Liverpool. We want to trace these 2 men urgently. Even experienced officers who've been working on this case were shocked by the violence and mental stress which is put upon these people.
Now, it wasn't just one occasion. In fact, the second time they struck was 20 miles away from the Old Swan at Warrington in Cheshire. The style, the viciousness, the unnecessary violence of the attack make the police almost certain that the same men are responsible. The targets this time were customers in the Bluebell Inn near Warrington town centre. The date, the 22nd of February, that's 10 days after the Liverpool attack. Again, it was closing time, and this time they coshed a 78-year-old man over the head with the butt of a shotgun. Now, we know, or at least we think we know, that one of them was called Tony, because that was the name that we heard, and also Julie likes Bacardi.
Yes, we did. We're convinced that one of them is called Tony, because on both occasions this name was used. They tried to cover it up in the Liverpool incident, but we are sure that Tony and an associate carried out this offence.
And someone called Julie knows them?
And Julie will probably be a wife or girlfriend of one of these men, and I implore on this girl, whoever she is, called Julie, to get in touch with us, because this was a very serious, these are 2 serious crimes, and I feel that she may have the key to who these people are.
She may be frightened herself, of course.
She may well be. Any information she will give us will be treated in full confidentiality.
What are these things that you've brought with you?
This was brought into the public house by one of the offenders in the hold-all which carried the guns. This is a towel which was thrown to one of the victims to wipe the blood on his head. And I would like to trace where it came from, if possible.
Right, and there's a rope there.
Yes, well, this rope was used to tie one of the victims up. It's a peculiar type of rope with a white inset, probably from a dressing gown cord or a lady's dress. We don't know. And if anybody has one missing from a dress or anything, I would like to know from them.
And obviously, publicans in the area and anybody who's drinking late at night should watch out for 2 men who fit those descriptions.
Yes, I would say so. But, not necessarily rough public houses. Ordinary family public houses, I would urge them to be aware of men with carrying hold-all bags, 2 waiting at the end of time and sitting there with quite a bit to drink.
Chief Inspector, thank you. Now, these are the numbers to ring. Please don't let other people suffer in this macabre way. 01 811 8055 here in the studio. You can call the detectives in Liverpool direct. Their number is 051 777 3643. That's Liverpool 777 3643.
And incidentally, if you haven't had a chance to write down the numbers, they're all on CFAX if you have it. But don't worry, the one to remember tonight is this one, 01 811 8055. We and the investigating officers behind us will be here for the rest of the night.
In fact, we'll be back to tell you what has been developing as a result of the programme, tell you about the calls we've received and give you reminders. That'll be just under an hour from now. That's Crimewatch UK Update, immediately after Question Time, here on BBC One at 11:05. Till then, these lines are open.
We'll be waiting for your call.